became a female advocate to make a difference in as many children's lives as I could.
Soul Sisters, a discourse on the woman on Smooth 98.1.
So set that already. So in case anyone wants to join, they can always just click on the link and it will take them right straight to the video.
Okay. Have you sent that to me?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sina.
Okay. So we're going live.
Okay then. Thank you.
You know, it's Soul Sisters when I start with Emmy Millie, I Am Woman. And of course, you are welcome to the station that loves music and loves life, to the show that talks about women every Wednesday from 11 till 11:50. Yes, it's Soul Sisters, and it's always a pleasure to be with you for 50 minutes discussing things that can add value to the women and then the soul brothers as well. So take a seat, get a cup of what you like to drink, and make sure that your volume is regulated. Make sure that your internet connection, if you're streaming live on YouTube or you're streaming via the website, or you're streaming via any radio listening app or website, yes, make sure that the internet connection is great so you to not miss out on any part of the conversation this morning, because it will be eye-opening, illuminating, and of course, value adding. This is something everyone should be a part of, not just the women, also the men. And if you have a niece and nephew, if you're an auntie, an uncle, yes, if you have a ward and a little one around you that you want to contribute to their life, you should be a part of this. And this morning, we're talking about nurturing an asset-rich child. And I'm certain that some people are listening or hearing that thing for the first time. I can tell you that because I heard it for the first time when I needed to have my guest on as well. So we're going to be unpacking what that is, and you're welcome to join us. So right now we're streaming live on YouTube. You can see my face and my guest's face, and that is at youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos, at youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos, which implies once you're on YouTube, just search for Smooth 91 FM Lagos. Okay, my name is Oluwaseun Olusegun, and this morning to discuss the topic of nurturing an asset-rich child, I have as my guest a versatile writer, an author, she's an educator, and she's also an advocate for children's literature. Now, that might sound simple until you get into the details of what she does. She creates engaging and educational content for young readers, and she's very unique in her approach because she believes very strongly in terms of parenting that a transformative journey, it is a transformative journey rather, that transcends just the task that is done and offers such an unparalleled opportunity in order to nurture individuals. And then in terms of her work, she's a researcher with an interest in the discovery, reception, and experimental use of ancient book formats within the modern literary landscape. And she's done a number of things, and a part of that includes being the co-founder of Jordan Hill Creative Writing and Reading Workshop for Children. And that plays a role in publishing, promoting, and celebrating young authors. Of course, she has many books of her own as well, and we can go on and on about her works. So I guess she's going to give us a little bit of that through this conversation this morning, not just as an author, but also as someone who's got a unique approach to parenting, which she believes that children, they are a gold mine and we need to get the best out of them. So please welcome with me Adeola Eze. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so very much. I'm very excited to be here with you this morning.
I cannot wait to dig into this conversation, but here I am representing every other person on the face of the earth who has no idea what asset-rich child means. So let's get to the basics. When you hear the word or the phrase asset-rich child, what should come to a person's mind?
Now, that's a question that has often been asked because, yeah, a lot of people, when you talk about assets, you're thinking about the material stuff, you know. But let me say first, when we talk about assets, or when I talk about asset or an asset-rich child, I'm actually referring to not just financial wealth or material possessions. Of course, I mean, at the end of the day, it adds up to that eventually. But most importantly for me, an asset-rich child is one that is basically equipped with a variety of valuable resources that help them succeed in life. Also, we're talking about assets like opportunities, important life skills, strong relationships, and those core values that shape us as humans, like empathy, honesty, resilience. For me, these are the tools that we need as parents to help our children to meet life's challenges, which are really very enormous. And then to not to be able to just meet life's challenges, but to be able to thrive no matter what comes their way.
Mm. You were, I think you started taking a peek into what was going to be my next question, because I can again imagine that somebody would hear you mention all those things and say, they are normal now. So how does it translate to being assets? And I mean, in terms of the children, right? The children need to be cultured with this thing. So how these things translate to maybe ultimately give the money or whatever.
Yeah, when we talk about assets, we're talking about those values that you raise them up. When they grow up with such values, which is you actually have a mix of them, a lot of things, a mix of different things that contribute to overall child's development. So when you're able to nurture your child and you're able to grow your child to be able to have these values or life skills, then you can trust that they're going to thrive. So they become successful individuals, like you've got opportunities, and these are experiences that help them grow and learn. You've got skills like practical abilities that they'll use throughout life, and then also you have relationships, which are key to them. Basically like having a strong support system, both in their families, in their workplace, and in their community. And of course, you have values like I mentioned earlier on, empathy, respect, responsibility. So when they have this asset, the assets are like guiding lights to them. They help children build values which would help them grow into well-rounded adults and also set them up for success in all areas of their life, like in their workplace, in schools, their relationships, and even in their careers. So they basically set them up for success.
Thank you. So for someone who's listening, I guess now we have established the fact that the assets we're talking about in this context does not necessarily mean something physical or a property or anything of sort. In fact, it's in our everyday life, you said?
Yeah. Yes.
So if we put it into the context of the adult life, we would say those soft skills that are necessary in helping a person thrive in their career, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right.
Great. All right, then. So we've laid the foundation and then we can build a strong conversation on this. So you're welcome if you're joining us on for the first time on Soul Sisters for today. We are talking about nurturing an asset-rich child. And of course, we're going to understand how the mothers can help to nurture this. And also how sometimes it's more about, is it bringing out now or putting in? Which one?
So I would say you're bringing it out. You're helping them because somehow when they come in, when children are very young, they have absorbent minds. They're able to absorb everything that is in the environment, and they begin to produce such. Now, if you're very intentional about giving them that kind of space, giving them that kind of opportunity, to take in things that would add value to them, they'll begin to bring it out. It's actually less about identifying assets in children, so but more intentionally about nurturing them. You have situations where you have people who are outside might begin to notice those qualities in your children. But you as a parent, it is your role to create an environment for them where these assets particularly flourish. It's not about just sitting down there being just being parent. One has to be very proactive, very intentional, teaching those values to them, because it is what you teach in them, what they see you do, what you model to them, that they would eventually grow up portraying, grow up showing. Take for instance, I have my 9-year-old son. Right from when he was very young, or should I say when he was still in my tummy, we introduced him to the powerful world of books. Yeah, we encouraged him. We started reading books to him. We would often read very lovely stories, myself and his dad, my husband. And all through when I was pregnant. And when we even gave birth to him, we continued with that same tradition. So he grew up around books and started teaching, started learning how to read, because we're very intentional about getting him to read books, to love books, to get excited about books. What I would always say is, if you make it a routine for the children, I mean, if it forms part of their life, they grow up with it, So just like waking up, going to bed, or waking up, having their bath, going to school, or having their meals, or sleeping, if you make reading a part of them, they would grow up and it becomes something they internalize. So yeah, my son grew up around books, and we encouraged him to start learning how to read from a very young age. If you visit his page, Nathan Reads Aloud on Instagram, and you scroll all the way down to maybe towards the beginning of the page, you'll find videos of his early years adventure into books. And I mean, some of these ones are the ones we're able to capture. There's so many other ones that, I mean, we just do often like that. So we grew him up with that value of books and reading. And I see how that is helping him today. In his school, he's always done very well with his class expectations. And most generally in spelling, especially in spelling, in reading and writing, he does so very well. So my 9-year-old son recently published his book, and we featured and it was featured in a news by BBC UK, celebrating World Books Day and his 9th birthday. And that there, right there is what our Gen Zs today call very mindful, So in today's palace, you have the very mindful,
I
very
feel so
cutesy,
old.
So you have to be that mindful when it comes to your children. That intentional habit of creating opportunities for our children to thrive by raising them with the right values is very important, especially in today's world. You see, we can't just sit down or wait and assume these things will just show up in them, or assume that, okay, yeah, because they're children or they go to school, those qualities will naturally show up. No, it's not the case. We have to be deliberate about helping our children develop them. It's like, when you're planting, when you plant, or you're planting a garden, you remember there's so many things you need to put in place. That reminds me, a few days back, my son, in completing his homework science project in school, had to do this planting of beans. And then my son observed it a few days later to check how it's growing. And like, what? The beans, when it wasn't growing, And beans for me is like the most simple thing to plant, So we're wondering what happened. And, but this particular one was not growing, and we had to review what we did not get right, like putting it out when the sun, where the sun could reach it, or planting with the right soil and taking the pains to water it. Anyways, he notes all of this, and in a small notebook decides to do notes down his observations, and then takes the step to do another planting, which we did just yesterday. So I'm hoping this particular one works for him. But I mean, see how we're praying for beans, just for beans to grow. And that is how it is when it comes to children. What am I saying? You don't wait to see what grows in your children. You carefully choose the seed you carefully water them, you carefully tend to them to see the value. So if you have a picture of what you want your child to be like, or how you want to grow, or the kind of profile that you want your child to grow up with, then you have to work on this. You have to work on what I now call assets in our children, and that's why
Now, before we
I'll
go
quickly
on,
say this.
please permit me to interrupt you just a
Yeah,
little bit. Just a little bit. We'll be
yeah.
right back. We need to take a breather. And when we come back, we'll continue with that. Thank you. You're listening to Soul Sisters on Smooth 98.1.
Jason Tony, and you are listening to Smooth.
We had to quickly take an ad break.
Pass through the eye of
All
the
right then. Sorry, I could go on and on. That's why I was.
I mean, that's good for me.
Yeah.
crack under pressure. Oh, goodness. Who will go all the way? Somebody has to go tonight. Or style their way to becoming a style magnate. Watch the Style Magnates coming soon on Showmax. Subscribe for 1,600 Naira monthly and sign up now at showmax.com. Let the style revolution begin.
Whose world is it?
This is a woman.
Let's talk about the woman.
Women make up more than half of the world's population and potential.
Let's talk about gender bias, relationships, and careers.
Okay, so when we come back, we continue from where we left off.
Feminism
All right then.
is the belief that men and women should have equal rights.
Every woman has got a story to tell, a story about her journey to being a hero against all odds.
When I was just 11 years old, I became a female advocate.
Smooth 98.1 presents
Soul
a
Sisters.
discourse on the woman. Now on Smooth 98.1 every Wednesday from 11 a.m.
And that's the name of the show you are currently listening to. It's Soul Sisters right here on Smooth 98.1. And as you have heard, we are all about the woman. We discuss everything and anything relating to her. For instance, last week, we discussed how to start afresh in another country as a woman. And then the week before it, we tried to understand women's health, eye health, actually. And we had a consultant ophthalmologist as our guest, or rather a surgeon. And then we also discussed, before then, we discussed the pediatrician's point of view in terms of motherhood, and then from singlehood to marriage. So as a lady that is transitioning to marriage, what are some of the things you need to know? Then we've also discussed combating sexual and gender violence to moving up in the corporate space as a woman. All these videos you can find on YouTube by simply searching for our YouTube page, and that is at Smooth 981 FM. At Smooth 981 FM. Go to our channel, you see playlist. Click on Soul Sisters, and you have so many of the videos that we have streamed live to YouTube. You have all of them in one place. Right now, we're talking about how to nurture an asset-rich child, and my guest is an educator as well as an author. And we have laid a foundation for what those assets are in the children. They're not the buildings, it's not real estate, and so on. We're talking about in today's adult context, think about soft skills, but importantly, she made a statement that you shouldn't wait to see what grows in a child because it can be like weed. You're waiting and then something springs up. So instead, you have to nurture, you have to create the right environment, you have to mold them into who they ought to be, especially as they are your offspring. They sprung from you, so they need to have you in them. Okay, that's my own Jara. So before the breather, you were explaining and telling us about nurturing, using the beans as an example.
Yeah, thank you very much. So before the break, I was talking about that, and I kind of remember that in my book, Nurturing an Asset-Rich Child, I actually compared children to macarons. Macarons in the hands of a baker or a pastry chef. Just like making macarons is a very delicate, careful process. Raising a child with the right values requires that same careful process. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes dedication. You're not just going to throw in the ingredients, just and expect it to just make up something. You have to plan how best you want to make it, how you want it to turn out. And so you're measuring the right sugar, you're measuring the right butter, and everything that goes into it. So it's a very careful and intentional process. If you are to think very deeply, and then you think about macarons, you know, those French delicacy,
Yeah.
they've got this very smooth, polished shell on the outside, you know. And I compare that to the strength of character that comes from nurturing good values in a child. Just like that exterior, you know, that firm exterior protects the macaron, you know, the values that we raise in our children, like grit or what we call resilience, perseverance, integrity. They protect our children from negative influences as they grow up. And then if you look very deeply, there's that creamy, soft feeling inside the macarons. That for me represents kindness. It represents empathy. It represents compassion, you know, and those are the values that we instill in our children. It's what helps them form those deep connections with others around, you know, where they become very empathetic about people around them. They show kindness. They're relatable and contribute positively to the world around them. And also, just like macarons, we know very well, at least from what I've studied, what I've researched while I was working on my book, it's not an easy process at all to make. You know, it requires a lot of effort. You know, like baking requires what we know about baking itself. It requires a level of skill and precision, you know. I remember having a conversation with a parent very recently on Saturday, you know, where we had both met when we dropped off our sons for a writing class. And we're talking about parenting and how very intentional parenting requires a lot from you. Sacrifices I would take. It does take a lot from us as parents, you know, getting that precision, developing that skills. And that is why it is a very, very important thing. Very, very important, I would say, you know, to learn how to take time off, some time to go and rest, rejuvenate, go find somewhere to relax and enjoy your life, I would say, and be refreshed to continue the journey. Because, you know, that part of the Bible that says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. That part needs a lot of strength from parents to achieve. But the beautiful thing about it is the investment of our time, of our energy is always worth it. It's always, always worth it, because in the end, you're shaping children who will stand out. You have so many children around the world who are doing precious things. These children will stand out. If you want to talk about in the global space, you have children who are providing some kind of support, who are achieving great things. You know, you talk about Malala Yousafzai. I mean, yeah, I think if I got the name right, yeah, that was the youngest Nobel Prize laureate for advocacy on girls' education. You know, and our thoughts, our plans were shaped by our parents. You know, especially the father, who was a key figure in nurturing our passion for education. And of course, we know Serena Williams, we know Venus Williams, and we know that their dad particularly. I mean, I recall that movie. So their dad, Richard Williams, was very much involved in coaching and guiding them from a very young age. You know, helping them, paving the way for their role or their dominance in tennis, and that has lasted till today. If we look at a Nigerian space, we're looking at, let's take for instance, Davido. He has the backing of his father, you know, and then you have the young Nigerian filmmaker and education advocate, Zuriel Oduwole, you know. So our parents are often credited for how they helped her to be able to achieve what she has achieved. So you have these children around the world who are actually doing great things and achieving a lot of success in whatever it is they're done, because their parents have taken the time to invest in them. So children who are most likely going to stand out, who are going to make it, would have the support of their parents. It is primal, it is very important in our role to provide that support, to be able to decipher what areas they're interested in particularly, what are the things that will help them to thrive in those areas, what are the values that I need to put in the child. You know, when children have such things, it's very difficult, most often than not, for them to stray, for them to go away from it, or for them to stray when they're older. You know, and even if they do stray, it's easier to bring them back. rather than when you just leave your children to just grow and you're not intentional about creating the environment that would have those values nurtured in them.
Thank you so much. Now, I would want us to get into what that environment looks like, one, and two will be what the mothers can do. Now, it's been said many times that maybe the mothers get to spend more time, although I can't seem to see any studies that backs that up or data, but they say that mothers get to spend more time with the children. So in those times, what are some of the things that they can do? And number two, what will the environment, an ideal environment that will help to nurture these assets in children look like? But that will come right after this. You're listening to Soul Sisters on Smooth 98.1.
Dominic, and this is Smooth 98.1.
Just another quick ad break.
West Africa's leading international art fair
That's all right.
returns for its 9th edition. Coming to the Federal Palace, Victoria Island from the 31st of October to the 3rd of November, Artex Lagos is more than an art fair. It's a gathering place for our community. Join us on a journey of discovery through African art, culture, and creativity. Get your tickets on artexlagos.com now. Artex Lagos is proudly sponsored by Access Holdings, Brexham Bank, Stanbic IBTC Pension Managers, Chapel Hill Denham, NBA Africa, and Jets, Empole, Trace TV, Soothe FM, and Beat FM. My name is Adenike, actor, writer, and you're listening to Smooth 98.1. Keep listening.
You're welcome. You're listening to Soul Sisters on Smooth 98.1. The time right now is 27 minutes past 11 o'clock, and we are talking about nurturing an asset-rich child. You're welcome to contribute if you have any contribution. And if you have any question, it's okay for you to send them as well to WhatsApp. That is 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. And on YouTube, we're streaming live. That is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. My guest is Adeola Eze, and she's an educator as well as an author. So before the breather, I wanted to know what the ideal environment that will help nurture these children will look like. And the second part is the mothers. How can they help to nurture these things in them?
All right, thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. And I would actually say in this nurturing role, both mothers and fathers play significant roles in making things work, just like you mentioned earlier on. It is not a one-person role. It is a both parents' role, But since you asked in relevance to motherhood, I will talk about that, and I'll talk about both in terms of the environment and the role of a mother, because when we talk about the environment, it is not necessarily a physical environment. Of course, that is part of it as well, but it has to do with the atmosphere of the home. Okay. So I would say the role of the mother is absolutely very important in nurturing an asset-rich child. As mothers, we are often seen as the primary caregivers and emotional anchors for our children. We provide love, we provide support, and these for me are very foundational to their development. So in that capacity, there are some very important things we need to think about. There are some very important parts that we need to play. First will be one, the emotional support that we are expected to provide our children. That is really, really very important. Mothers typically create that safe and loving environment, where children feel valued and understood, and ensures a healthy self-esteem and confidence in their children, because this allows the children to grow up exploring their potential and also develop their assets, their gifts, their talent, or their potential in different areas. When they know that we believe in them, when they know that we are there for them, then you can trust that, yes, they would be able to go out there and thrive. But when children are in an environment where they do not feel the love of their parents, they do not feel the love of their mother, as the case is in our conversation this morning, then you can be certain that out there, they might lack the confidence they need to excel in whatever it is that they want to do. So parents, it's very important. Mothers, it's very important for us to show our children love. And it is not just in buying things or giving them the money. It's about giving them the attention. It's about being there for them. It's about being available for them and to them at whatever point that they need them. I have my first daughter is 26 years old, and my second is 24, and then I have my little 9-year-old son. And no matter the fact that no matter wherever they are, or the fact that my daughters are quite older now, anytime they call and they want to talk, I try to provide that attention. I try to make sure that I'm there. I try to provide that listening here. I try to be available to them at whatever point in time that they need my support. Because when they have that support from home, there's nothing anybody is going to throw out there to them that is going to make them, straight. Even if they, like I said, yes, there's a tendency for peers to actually distract you. It would be a distraction. It wouldn't be totally you going out of the way. A lot of children suffer today because maybe back home, they do not find the love. They do not have the love. Yes, you have parents who have provided all the monies that they need in the world for them, but they are not even there to support them. You're not there to see what they're doing in school. You're not there to provide, a kind word. Oh, yeah, I see that you're doing this. Amazing. You're not involved in their life. So that is, for me, very key, to be there as a mother, physically, emotionally, giving them the attention they need. Also, as mothers, it is very, very important for us to model values to them. We can't do that thing that says, do as I say, or don't do as I do. What you say is what you have to do. So what to say is what you have to practice as well. Because like I said earlier on, children have absorbent mind. They see these things. Now, if they see you going the other way and you're telling them to go this way, they are most likely going to go with you the other way. So if you want them to have those values in them, you have to model the values as well. And particularly mothers, because, technically, I would say, or structurally, mothers are usually more at home, we play a significant role in this modeling thing, to be able to show them the kind of behaviors, the kind of character, how we relate to our neighbors, how we relate to our workers, how they see us relate to our own family. They see all of this. And when we demonstrate, things like empathy, we demonstrate things like values like kindness, responsibility with the things that we own ourselves, children will learn and emulate this. And so that is very key and very important. As parents as well, we should also encourage our children to explore their environment, to explore their interests. When my younger daughters were growing up, I had one that was really very fashion conscious. The other day we were joking about this, years ago, when we were getting ready for church, she would come in and then wear some funny things. She would wear Ankara and trainers then. It wasn't a thing then, and I would wonder, why would you wear this to church and things like that? And, and no, this is not right. And over years, I realized that, see what everybody is now moving with. She actually started it very early on. And we're just joking about that last weekend, And over time, I realized that she's very conscious when it comes to fashion. She has the fashion sense, and she wanted to go into fashion. And of course, that with humans, especially children, their passions for things are really very swift. But whatever be the case, I know that we were intentional about supporting her, getting her what she needed to be able to thrive at that particular period where she was very much interested in that. Just the same thing we're doing with my son. I see my other daughter that loves to sing, and I keep encouraging her, you should join a church choir, or you should join a music band, So when we see such things, we should encourage our children to explore their interests, to explore their passions, because you really can't tell which one would actually make them to fly at the end of the day. So it can be maybe a creative activity or sports or academics, whatever it is. We should not just be so focused on academics and say, what, that's all I'm interested in, and then not create our time to be able to encourage them in those other areas. So those are the things that I talk about when I'm talking about, when I refer to enabling environment, the right environment to let your children's potential thrive.
Thank you so much for that detailed answer. Now, I have a question on my mind, and I'm almost scared to ask it at the risk of being judged or being judgmental as well. This stems from a number of situations that I've seen and experienced as well. So I'll just say it as it comes to my mind. Now, in the nurturing process, as the mother, how do you ensure that you're not the weak link? And this is part of what I mean.
Yeah.
So there are times that, for whatever reasons, it depends on how the home is set up and how both of the parents are going in line with the vision of the home. But you will agree with me that there were times that the children tend to run to the mom when they want to get away with some things, or they feel like mommy will let me do it, or mommy is soft, mommy might be, they might, of course, they're not going to say mommy is emotional. So, and again, I'm linking it back to where we started from, where there is something we're trying to nurture in the children. There is an environment, and we also know that whatever it is that we're doing or not doing is automatically saying something to them. So how does the mother ensure that she doesn't become the weak link?
All right. Yeah. I would not say if you're able to provide emotional support to your children, you cannot attempt a weak link, all right? Because yes, we do understand this. Life is about, or raising your children is about discipline, and it's about love as well. So you need to be able to know how to find the balance between when you're showing them love, and of course you're showing them love even when you're being firm to them, but when you're being firm in terms of guiding them in the right path, then you need to be able to find the balance. And I would say that, just like I said earlier on, the relationship or the nurturing bit or the parenting bit has to do with both parents, fathers and mothers. So you both need to come to an agreement as to how you want to nurture your children. So there are certain things that you would have agreed on, or this is how we do this, or this is what we do, this is what we can provide for the children, this is what we would not allow them to do. So no matter the circumstance, when your children come to you, because most obviously they've gone to daddy and daddy says no, or says, no, you have to do this, or you have to do without this, and then they come to the mom, yes, mommy is, mommy is going to do this for us. But because you already have an understanding with your husband, you already know what are the agreed points in your home, you will find a way to explain to the children, no, we're not doing this. No, we're not doing that. Like, take for instance, I'll talk about my son again. It is an agreed thing that yes, during the week, you have your study time, you have your reading time, you have your school time. You don't have access to your phone, you don't have access to your games, you don't have anything. So, but of course, my son would come to me, and the dad is really very keen about enforcing that, ensuring that he's able to focus, learning that there is time for everything. Now there's time for you to study. Now this is your weekend, and we call it Nathan's time. He does whatever he wants to do, of course, within boundaries. And so he would come to me, and he would come and say, oh, mom, maybe if I can do this. And I like, no, this is what we've agreed. And I'll explain to him why it is important for him not to do that at that particular time. I recall another episode. He was trying to sign up for an after-school club activity. And it was a nice one, very energetic, and we kind of fell straight by that. But when we thought deeply about it, we thought, no, this is not the exact activity that we wanted him to be involved in, based on certain scenarios, certain logistics. And he came to me and he said, oh, I don't want him to have fun in school. Of course, his dad was the one that said, no, we're not doing this. And then he comes to me, you don't want me to have fun in school? I said, no, that's not the case. These and these and these and these are the reasons we do not want you to do this particular activity, because this is what we believe. And I asked him a question. Now, what do you think you would do with this particular activity in the future? And he said, nothing. All right. And I said, yes, but it's even possible for you to go even on the other side, the adverse side, and then do something negative. And so because of that, no, it's not something we want to encourage. So if your children understand that there is some kind of communication between both parents, and they usually would agree because they want the best for you, then when you cannot be the weak link in the family. At the end of the day, they know that even if they go to mommy is like, she will still go along with whatever daddy has to say, So that's understanding that I believe we as parents can let our children have access to, understand how things work, the dynamics of your home. And once they understand that, you'll be able to get the best out of them.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I hope somebody benefits from it as well. The time now is 40 minutes past 11 o'clock, and we will be right back. You're listening to Soul Sisters on Smooth 98.1.
What's up, everybody? My name is Shay. Yes, you are listening to Smooth 90.
Oh, time flies.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. I checked the time now. It's 11:40. Wow.
Yeah. So we have about 10 minutes more. And when we come back, I think there is a question.
By any plan, we go help you get your phone and tell go summer you free data. Who don't like our and you never finish, so MTN will come make them easy. With Easy Buy, you fit drop that balance at phone, make you upgrade to new smartphone and pay small for 3 months or 12 months. Now once we deal with this one, you still the way. Waka go any mobile retail shop, make you find Easy Buy agents now. For your mind to cool well, pick and fix, visit www.mtn.com/devices to enjoy all the correct services we did here. MTN, what we did do today.
Country that has been gifted with many natural resources.
Offers investors today the opportunity to succeed.
When the market moves, we move with it, observing its changes and trends, analyzing its policies and effects, and bringing to the spotlight the players of the game. It's business talk beyond the headlines, business beyond the figures, business from around the world in a flash.
From regulatory to financial to infrastructure to governance.
Business Express on the Smooth Breakfast, weekdays from 6:30 a.m.
Love music.
Hi, my name is Zibby. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life.
Love music and love life. You are listening to Soul Sisters on Smooth 98.1, and we're talking about nurturing an assets-rich child. You have missed out on 40 minutes of great conversation if you're just joining us. But don't worry, you have the chance to go back to the conversation by streaming on our YouTube platform, or better still, there will be the replay of the conversation there. So you will find hashtag Soul Sisters 981 and nurturing an assets-rich child. And I'd say you should subscribe so whenever we go live, you see the notification and you will not miss out on any of the conversations right here. Now, that said, I will quickly get to WhatsApp. Now, if you have any question or contribution, you can send it to WhatsApp 0809-444-0981. Again, 0809-444-0981. Wilson says, good morning, Madam Oluwaseun. My regards to the guest. Your guest is very correct. Training a child is a very sensitive aspect of life. In fact, I can confidently say that training a child is the greatest task of any newly married couple. Not only training the child to university level, it has to be intentional. It takes time and effort, patience and grace. Many parents have failed in the regards, and that's why we have so many irresponsible people everywhere doing bad and terrible things. And for every child trained the wrong way or neglected, they will answer to God at the end of the day. We'll see. Easy.
What it is.
All right, moving on to the message from Chimezie. He says, good morning, Sheo. Good morning to the guest on today's show on Soul Sisters. I agree totally with everything that has been said so far. Well-rounded children makes for a well-rounded society. However, I want to know what's your take on this. I read somewhere in an article that 70% of how a child turns out in life is attributed to genetics, while the other 30% is from the environment and other factors. If this is true, how do we navigate it, seeing the odds are rigged in the favor of genes? What's your take?
Well, for me, I would say, like you said, 70% has to do with the environment. I'll leverage the 70% if I see.
No, he's sorry to interrupt you. He's saying 70% has to do with genetics, what 30% has to do with environment.
I'm not very certain about that.
I can say the same.
Yeah, I'm not very certain about that. I would like to know what studies that have been, and because to the best of my knowledge, from my own learning and studies that I've done when it comes to behavioral development in children, a lot has to do with the environment, both in the house, outside of the house, and that is why we're saying that whatever you are doing as a parent or as a home, as a family, provide a nourishing environment for the children. That's to the best of my knowledge. I do understand that to some extent it can be genetic in the terms that, this is how I'm really very wary of that, because I can understand genetic situations, genetic disorders, when it comes to the human metabolism or organism and things like that. But when it comes to behavior, and it's not a medical situation of maybe a child that is autistic or the parent that is autistic or things like that. It has to do with behavior. I think it is learned. So rather than saying genetics, I would say the child learns this from the parent. So it is almost like natural, because if you as a parent behave in a certain way or you do certain things, it comes natural to the child, except they go outside to believe that that is how everybody is. And so maybe to that extent, you can say it is the birthplace of the child or the environment of the child, immediate environment of the child, that creates that child to be like that. And that's why you've heard instances of people talking about the way their parents behave and them thinking that's how life is, about both the good ones and the bad ones. Until you go outside and see how other parents behave, you wouldn't know that, oh, no, this thing that my parents have been doing is actually not done like this somewhere else. So if you don't have that external environment, you have the tendency to imbibe everything that your parents do. And so you would probably feel, oh, it comes naturally. But to a very large extent, from what I've studied, from what I've seen, the environment goes a long way to determine how our children turn out, both the environment in the house and the environment outside of the house. So while we put in the effort to make sure that our children have a nourishing environment in our home, we should ensure that outside of the home, they equally have that kind of environment that will provide them with the abilities to reach their full potential. You don't want an environment that would dampen your child's desire to excel in life, because you have in that environment people who are bringing out the child. You want a child to be in an environment, both in the school, in your community, in your neighborhood, that would support the child's growth, both with the parents and the adults in the child's life, that would foster a kind of positivity in your child. So those are things that are really very important to us as parents, that we need to find a way to create for our children.
Thank you.
I hope I answered.
Chimeze, I hope your question is answered. You can let us know if it was answered to your taste. However, on WhatsApp, Oluwaseun says, I agree with Mrs. Eze. It's more of an environment issue. All right, then. As we draw to a close or draw this conversation and draw the curtains on it, it's almost time for us to finish. One or two challenges that parents have to navigate in raising an asset-rich child. What will you refer to as some of those challenges, and how can they navigate it?
Yeah, one thing is, as fulfilling as raising an asset-rich child is, it definitely comes with its own challenges. As I mentioned earlier on, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes a lot of effort. If you are the kind of parent that is not vested or that is not interested in putting in the time, then you're not going to get the best. And so for me, that is a major challenge, finding the time to do the things that we need to do as parents. We can get so overwhelmed with the other parts of our lives, our careers, our studies, our work, or whatever it is that we do, or our church, and then leave very minimal time for the home. That is something we need to find a way to have a balance. It is important for us to find the right balance when we're raising our children. And also, when we talk about finding the right balance, it is also very, because one big challenge that I see is figuring out how to give our children enough freedom while also, guiding them in the right path. You don't want to be a parent that stifle your children just in the name of, parenting them. You don't want to be that kind of helicopter parent where you just want to overshadow them. You want to give them the freedom to explore themselves, to be themselves, to be free around you and to be free in their world. And so you need to know how to balance freedom with responsible autonomy, where you're able to manage their freedom, but set within certain boundaries. Another thing is, as parents, you have to be very intentional about energizing yourself. If you don't have energy, you've had parents where I just don't have energy for that. I can't do that. So, and trust me, that energy comes with you knowing how to take care of yourself, knowing how to build your own stamina, because raising children requires stamina, even as much as playing hide and seek. For somebody like my son that likes to play hide and seek or just likes to just run around, you need energy. And especially as we grow older, we begin to lose some of the energy that we have. So you have to find the time to go and exercise, to do your workout, to be able to get yourself in a place where you have the energy to deal with whatever issues that are coming up. And energy in terms of physical energy and spiritual energy and emotional energy as well. So you need to be able to guide your space mentally, to be able to be a positive influence to your parents, to your children as well. One other thing that I see as a challenge is outside influences. Children are exposed to a lot of things outside. They have their peer pressure, they have social media, which we're all dealing with at this point in time. And some of those things can clash with the values that we're trying to instill in them. So what I would encourage parents to do is to keep the lines of communication open with your children. Let them be able to talk to you at every point in time. When they talk to you, there are certain things that will drop from their conversations that you can pick up and act based on that, to be able to guide them properly. You should be able to create a space when they can, talk about the influences they're having outside and encourage them to think critically about what they see, what they hear, the decisions they make, and that would help them better. Those are challenges that readily come to mind.
Thank you so much for providing such value this morning. Unfortunately, we cannot go on. We are done for today. I'll end with this messages from Wilson, who says, even if it is more of an environment issue, a whole lot still depends on the parents. We have people brought up in some of the worst places on earth, yet they are responsible and well behaved. If the environment is not helping matters, relocate. Okay, Wilson. Thank you again, and for people to keep up with you and your works on social media, maybe to see the book written by Nathan. How did they go about it?
Sorry, what was the question?
I said, if people want to keep up with you across socials and maybe to see the work out there, the Nathan's book and so on.
All right. My son Nathan published his book this year in celebration of his 9th birthday and in celebration of World Book Day. His book is available on Amazon. If you type Nathan Eze on Google, I'm sure it will bring up his BBC interview and the rest of what he has done. He's also on Instagram, basically managed by myself and his dad. Nathan Reads Aloud, and that's a page where we try to encourage children, try to encourage children to love reading and to enjoy the world of books. For my own book, Nurturing an Ancestry Child, you can find it on Amazon. And pretty much my Instagram handle is Adeola_Eze. I guess that'll be all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I could feel, I don't know if I should call it the pride in you as a mom. My son, Nathan, I liked it. I mean, it's making me do my ovaries. You know how they would say it on social media. That is just so beautiful. And I'd say congratulations on the beautiful work you've done with him. And cheers to more. Cheers to more coming out of him.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so next week we'll be back with another discussion on Soul Sisters, and you should totally join us from 11 to 11:50 right here on Smooth 98.1. Now, what happens from 12 p.m. till 4 p.m. on Smooth is African music, and that's what we do every weekday, playing you great music just to make sure that you're having a productive time at work or whatever it is that you're doing during that period. My name is Oluwaseun Olusegun.
Is it? This is a woman.
Thank you very much. We are now done.
All right, then. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I hope you have a lovely day. I suppose it's morning where you are.
Yes, it is.
All right. Bye. I'll share this. Okay, I think I already shared the YouTube link with you, so you can always go back to it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Bye.
then. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.